Arsenal. Oh, what's happened there? It's just a me on the screen. That's not what we want. That is what we want. Great way to ruin what I had as a special intro. We go again. So, Arsenal beat Tottenham 4-1 in North London Derby. A bit like Tottenham. The stream didn't get started there. So, a lot to get into to review that defeat in Igor Tudor's first game. Arsenal absolutely delighted with this win. Title race reunited. They couldn't have 3 games in a row without, it would have been 3 without a win if they didn't beat us. They have, though, unfortunately, which hurts, always hurts losing North London Derby, especially when it's 4-1 at home. But let's introduce them, my fantastic panel that join me in what will be a therapy session. Firstly, Chris, Spurs fan and ex-referee. This should be a tasty one. How are you doing, though?
Oh yeah, no, well, outside of football, I'm all good, mate. So as good as could be expected if you're a Tottenham fan.
Yeah, absolutely. Not good times at the moment, but I'll say this now before I go around to the rest of you. Thank you all for your commitment. Nonetheless, Alan, thank you very much for your time. Of course, you have your own YouTube channel, Tottenham Logic TV. So how are you doing? And talk to people a bit about that as well.
Hello, mate. Yeah, hopefully I can come on one day and after a victory. Because every time I go on anybody's channel at the moment, we're always talking about something negative. So hopefully that will change one day. But at the moment, I can't see it. I've got my own channel on YouTube, Tottenham Logic TV. I have lots of people come on. I do match reactions. I have a show with Nigel from Pure Coys as well. And yeah, it's just I try to keep it as balanced as I can. But sometimes the emotions can take over me, and then I'll think about it, and then I'll change it the next day. But yes, at the moment, it's not looking good for Spurs, is it?
No, it's not, absolutely. But as always on this podcast, we cover both the positives and the negatives. But let's be real, when you lose 4-1 in North London Derby, of course, there's going to be negatives that will be discussed. Uncomfortable conversations, and we don't hold back here. We're going to cover it. And listen, people try and avoid the word relegation, but I think you have to discuss it. We're in a position the Tottenham are in. Simon, thank you, my third and absolute final guest for tonight. But good to have you on as well. Tell people a little bit about what you do as well on the socials. But yeah, thank you for your time.
Yeah, no, cheers, Harry. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me on. I'm in my black Spurs hoodie because I'm in mourning of what is happening to our football club at the moment. It's just hard. It's hard to put it into words, isn't it? So I'm just shocked. But I'm on X quite a bit, and also I'm event coordinator for Dudley Spurs as well. So got hopefully an event lined up soon. All good. Thank you, Harry, and looking forward to dissecting yesterday's game, to be honest.
Absolutely, and I'm going to give you all the platforms to get it off your chest in the most sensible way possible. But let's do it in chronological order, as always, and start with the lineup, because we always like to see, don't you, whoever comes into a new job, whatever club it will be, what formation it will be, what lineup will be. And we knew it'd go with a back three, but would it be a 3-4-2-1? Would it be a 3-5-2? We weren't sure. One striker, two striker. In the end, it looked like it went the 3-5-2 with Vicario in goal. Dragusin, Van der Ven and Paulinho. So Paulinho being that third centre-back, that's what we weren't sure about. Would it be Gray? Would it be Byfield? Who will it be? It was Paulinho. Then the midfield 5, so you've got the 2 full-backs, Spence and Gray. And then Gallagher, Basuma and Sarr, they started in midfield with Simmons and Moani as kind of a front 2. But again, I recognise this changed in the game. Simon, if I start with you, what were your thoughts on that lineup when it come out? Because a lot of people looked at it and went, I still want to be positive, but it's not the lineup that people wanted to see when they saw that Solanke was on the bench and that we're putting square pegs in round holes rather than going with Sousa. So what were your thoughts when it come out? And if you could be honest, of course, it's easy to sit now, isn't it, and go, that was wrong. But what was you thinking at the time?
In Tudor's defence, he really hasn't got much to pick from, has he? I would have liked for Sousa to be starting on the left wing back. I know he's untried, but with the formation he was playing, we needed that width. And with Spence at left back, it was just narrowing the gap, narrowing the pitch because he come inside every time. And to be honest, I would have said that's the only change that I could have seen him making. I mean, the back three was as I expected. The midfield, it's just like he's clutching at straws, really, unless we try some of the untried youngsters. But when we're fighting a relegation battle like we are at the moment, it could make or break a young player's career, to be honest, whether they cope with that. So, he's working with what he's got, and bar, as I said, Sousa, it was as I expected, to be fair, Harry.
Okay, thank you very much, Simon. Appreciate that. Alan, have you got anything to add about the lineup? Was there anything that took you by surprise? Did we, in particular, if you focus on Solanke as well, there was talks, wasn't there, in the week, and Igor Tudor come out and said that he should be okay, but he's only had 2 training sessions in what was a throat problem. I personally still thought, surely he's going to start the game. He didn't. Did that take you by surprise?
The throat problem was a weird one, because if it was a virus, with this massive injury record we've got, why is he hanging around with the first team? Why is he on the bench? So if he's got a virus, he shouldn't be anywhere near us, should he? Otherwise, he's going to spread it to everyone. But we don't know. We don't know what the problem was. It wasn't a shock. As soon as we knew about the throat infection or whatever he had, I knew he'd either not be playing or be benched. So that wasn't a shock. Tudor had options to not go to 5 at the back, but that's what he's always done. So for him to not do something he knows would be quite strange, considering we knew what he did when he came in. But he did have options to change it to a 4-4-2, especially when we were getting overrun. Because Paulinho is so much better in that midfield, and we needed someone to fight. Rice was doing all over us in that midfield, and to not notice that and not to put someone like Paulinho on Rice is bad management, really. Like, you could see it a mile off. Any Tottenham fan would tell you we were overrun in the middle, didn't have anybody to win the ball back. Nobody could get their foot on the ball and play out. I don't remember once where we had a passage of play. Most of the time we were hitting it long, hoping that Mawani would hold it up and play it out to someone else. The tactics, I don't know what the tactics were, apart from try to contain Arsenal, which did not work. We should have just went, even if you wanted to play 3 at the back, play Byfield then. Put Byfield. I don't know if he had a knock, because he wasn't even on the bench, was he? But he could have played one of the academy players. I know that would be a massive risk, but at least he's a defender. He's been played in the Champions League a couple of times and not made any mistakes. There's so many different things he could have done, but then again, it's hindsight, isn't it? Like, you can, if it worked and we won, we wouldn't be moaning, would we? But we're playing against, and we hate to say it, a very, very, very good side. And if you're playing players out of position, you've got 10 injuries, you're already up against it before you've even started. So it's, yeah, and to answer your question, I'm not shocked that he just had a lack of options. But some of the decisions he made, I thought, were a bit strange. And that's about it for me.
100% that. I think you summarised the feeling, I think, generally amongst Spurs fans really well. And thank you very much. Simon, slightly different question to you. It is, linked to the lineup, but mainly on the formation. We're going to get into all of this. But again, hindsight is key. But do you think that this back 3 has to be ditched until we get the likes of Christian Romero back? Because otherwise, you look at it and go square pegs and round holes. The fact that Paulinho is having to go in at centre back, there's a lot of people look at that and go, that's not right. He's better in defensive midfield. How do you view it? Do you think he needs to adapt and change that formation while we've got these players out? As they start to come back, go back to what's worked best for him in his managerial career. So I'm interested to see how you sit on that, because a lot of managers look at it and go, like Amarin, for example, at United, it was what was best for him, not what was best for the system or the club. And he got criticised on that, and I think a big reason he lost his job was because of that. So I'm interested to know your thoughts.
I mean, I expected him to play a back 3 because that's what he's played a lot of his career, but I think we just got to remember that he only really sort of took training on from Tuesday, so he literally only had 4 days to work with the squad. Me personally, yesterday's game was a free hit for him, because I said all along, I think as a fan base, we weren't expecting the best from that game, whether Thomas Frank was in charge or whatever, because as we've said, unfortunately, and I hate to admit it, but we're against probably the best team in the Premier League at the moment. I mean, I think 3 at the back, 4-4-2, with the players we've got at the moment, you are, like you said, putting square pegs in round holes. It would have still been Archie Gray probably at right back out of position, Jed Spence left back out of position. Until some of these players come back, I don't think there's much you can do. And if I was him, you'd go with the formation, to be honest. And hopefully for the Fulham game, Danso might be fit, so we can get Danso in the back three. That might tighten it up a little bit. But yeah, I can see him going forward with these three at the back. I really can.
I agree with that. Simon, thank you. Chris, I'm, of course, as you know, saving you for putting you under the spotlight. Going to be grilling you, as you know, about the referee. But I will ask you briefly on the live before we move on. What were your thoughts, right, on that when it come out, an hour and 15 before and you saw it? I looked at it and I was positive. Yeah, trying to be positive. I looked at that and thought, no, more square pegs and round holes.
100%. I thought it stunk. I'll prefix it with he's had one game. I'm certainly not blaming Tudor for yesterday because I think our players are appalling. However, I can't remember if it was on your show last week, Harry, or if it might have been another one I was on. But I said the only way we can possibly compete with Arsenal is by having Palhinha in the middle, competing with Rice and Zubamendi. So the second I saw the lineup, I knew that wasn't happening. We've got a right back at left back. We've got a central midfielder at centre back. We've got another central midfielder at right back. Look, it was the lineup I expected because he almost always plays that, right? So I expected it. But the game went exactly how I thought it would go the second that I saw that lineup because Palhinha is our best midfielder, certainly in terms of competing. And you don't move your best players around and put them in positions where they're not as strong. I thought he's done well when we put him in the back three previously. But yesterday wasn't the day to do it. The game was always going to be won and lost in central midfield. It would have been hard enough with Palhinha in the middle, and it was lost before we started without him, as far as I'm concerned. So I don't really understand. I do. Look, I can see that he always plays that pretty much. But if you come in and you can't play it because you don't have the players, I think it's a worrying sign for a manager that goes, well, we can't play it, but we'll just play it anyway. I'm like, brilliant. Is that not what we did under Ange? So, yeah, I thought the lineup stunk, mate. I appreciate he hasn't got a lot of options, but I thought he made us unnecessarily weaker by doing that, personally.
Okay. Thank you all. I think you're all under a similar opinion with the lineup. Thank you. Chris, sticking with you, though, 32nd minute was when the deadlock was unbroken, unfortunately, through Eberechi. As they, of course, say no more once again. We'll get on to him in a bit, but loving, scoring against Tottenham and loving rubbing it in as well with the celebrations. And we love, of course, what unfolds after. But on this goal, I mean, I don't like to single out individuals, but would you say it's poor from Pat Matisar, wins the ball and maybe thinks he's got too much time and he just robbed a possession very quickly and he was never really getting back from that?
Yeah, he was crap. He is crap. He's had about half a dozen good games for us. Look, I'm just going to say how it is, and not going to beat around the bush today. We were absolutely pummeled in that first half. The second half, it got worse. But I've seen loads of people today go, oh, we played well in the first. We absolutely didn't play well in the first half. It was men against boys. I didn't expect any different. These are really poor players. We created. Did we create anything apart from the actual goal, which came from a good bit of pressing? I'm not going to knock that. I know we're going to come on to that, but we didn't really create anything. So, yeah, sure, it was Sarr's error. I have no problem with admitting that, but it was a matter of time. We were giving the ball away for fun. We couldn't retain it. The possession stats, I think, first half was something like 73, 74% for Arsenal. It's an absolute embarrassment. So, yeah, break down the goals as we will do, but it was literally just a matter of time until they scored. And if it wasn't going to be Sarr, it was going to be someone else because basically everybody was giving the ball away, unfortunately.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chris. And Simon, also on this first goal of the game, I mean, listen, we can focus on Sarr and he's got to be held responsible for that, of course. But listen, when you make a mistake, for me, and even away from football, you cover for people, right? Surely. And, Eze, I mean, there's just a couple of Arsenal players in the box. And, of course, I'd be thinking Mark Eze, Mark Gyökeres. It just felt like common sense. Yet he's got time to not only get the ball, bring it down, then a little stumble, which I don't think is deliberate if you watch it back, and put the ball in the net. They had 3 or 4 seconds there. I mean, it felt slow, of course, to us and frustrating, but why is he allowed to bring it down and score there? Surely 3 defenders, well, 5 at the back, really, when we're defending, and nobody can get anywhere near. What's going on?
Yeah, it's it's not surprising now, really, Harry. I mean, our defence all season has been absolutely terrible. To me, it seems like they're ball watching a lot more than they are like watching their man. I mean, there's about 3 or 4 players around Eze, and like you said, he managed to bring it down and then even rifle it in. There's just no one there that maybe without Romero, because obviously he's the captain, but there's no one there who commands the area or commands the defence, pulls them around. They're just left, each player is left to their own accord and to do what they want, sort of thing. There's no one orchestrating them or anything on that pitch. And we look like a bunch of 10-year-olds playing football, all of them just chasing the ball all the time. There's no tactics, no strategy. It is embarrassing to see where our club has gone to over the past few seasons. And every attack that, comes towards our goal with Vicario and the defence we've got at the moment, I fear every time. And let's be honest, like Chris said, it could have been a lot worse than 4-1, really, if they'd put a few of their chances away.
If you're absolutely right, and people saying that in the chat as well, that it could have been quite a few more for Arsenal. But when I say positives, this is what I am talking about. One of, probably just a few, but still, let's always look at the positives. 34th minute, Kyler Mwani to equalise. Alan, I come to you. My favourite moment about this is Declan Rice going, come on, as captain, and going, calm down, and you're really hyped up, all of a sudden out of nowhere. And, fast forward, not even a minute, dilly-dallying on the ball and robbed by Kyler Mwani. So my question to you, poor from Rice, but also really good awareness and clinical finishing from Kyler Mwani. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it was good pressing. That's about the only good thing we did in that half, to be honest. And Declan Rice should have just cleared it, but he tried to be cocky. He tried to meg him, I think he was trying to do. Don't know what he was trying to do, but he lost the ball. And it was a clinical finish, his first Premier League goal of the season, which is shocking, really. But, yeah, I don't know what to make of it, because we did that and we scored the goal, clinical finish. And then we never gave it to Mwani again for the whole of the half after that. We never gave it to him. He started he looked like he was brimming with confidence. Give him the ball a bit more. Let's attack a bit more. We just went back to how we was. Arsenal got the ball, 73%, kept attacking our goal, and we did nothing about it. So the goal for me was just lucky Rice made a mistake. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had a chance in that half. So for me, that goal became irrelevant. Because we didn't work on that. We didn't adapt to it. We didn't change the way we played. We just went back, reverted into type again. So, yeah, it was very frustrating. It was a good goal, good finish. Kudos to him, but nothing more than that. It was just a mistake from Rice, clinical finish, but then nothing else after that. So it became irrelevant in the end, to be fair.
Just quick point on that, though. Getting the ball, we didn't really get the ball to him at all, right? In that situation, he won the ball himself.
No, we didn't. No, that's what I'm saying. It was a mistake.
We hoofed it up to him. We played the more long ball than I've seen all season. And the poor guy it doesn't matter whether it was him, Richarlison, Solanke, Tell, it doesn't matter who it was. It was isolated. It was on his own. What we expected him to do with it?
Don't you think we played that sort of long ball quite a lot this season? We bypassed the midfield quite a lot, I think.
That's why we sacked the manager. Yeah. And then we're still doing it.
We played it as much as we did in that game.
I think it's fear from the defenders. Like Archie Gray was doing it quite a bit yesterday, but I think it's from the fear. They just don't know what to do when they've got the ball. There's no movement off the ball. I've been saying this for ages. You watch, as an example, just from a throw-in, our players are so static. And you see many a time that they're not knowing who to throw to because the players aren't moving about. They've got to move about off the ball to make the passing game easier.
The long throws made me laugh because we've got Dragus in because he's our best long thrower. He can't really throw it that far, right? And yet he'd go in for a throw and all our players were like far post. I'm like, but he can't get the ball that far. What are we doing?
Do you know what I was going to ask that in a minute? He saved me. Yeah, listen, I'm a young fan, but maybe this is old school though, believe it or not. But put your defenders in the box when you've got a set piece. Don't bottle it and stay back, but also don't have them taking throw-ins. Surely that's for fullbacks, in my view. Fullbacks, wingers at a push. Someone who's not going to cause a problem in the box, right? I never got it with Dan. So okay, decent throw, but you want him in that box. You want him pushing people out of the way, getting his head in there. So just add my personal point of view. I think it's absolutely crazy. But fair play to Colin for this goal. Moving on then, and Chris, I'm going to come to you. So 3rd minute of stoppage time in the first half. There's a Gabriel block on Colin which did mount to nothing, but I do want to ask you about it and to put a graphic up on screen to remind people this is what it looked like. So Gabriel, trying to ultimately stop Colin getting to the ball. The argument, I suppose, here is, Chris, that although there's not an awful amount in it, is Gabriel really ever interested in going for the ball? For me, he's just completely looking at Colin and trying to stop his man. Surely that's obstruction.
Well, how much of a technical referee answer do you want? Because obstruction isn't in the laws. So technically, from a referee speak point of view, you're talking about impeding, but impeding is a non-contact offence. And there was contact, so it's just a foul, basically. I'm surprised at how much everyone's blown up about this. I think the reach from Tottenham fans is that it should have been a red card. Sure, maybe it should have been a free kick. There's no way in a million years it's a red card. Like, Mawani's not got the ball. He's probably not going to get the ball as it runs through to the keeper. I don't know. I've got no objections to people saying this is a foul, but this is the fan base we're turning into, I think, where not aimed at you, Harry, just my general observations that we want to moan about every single decision. It's funny. I don't know how we managed to do it, but every single week, if you believe the Spurs fan base, we're hard done to and we're on the wrong end of decisions. I'm like, it's amazing. Every single week. Maybe it's just that we are over obsessing and viewing things through one particular viewpoint rather than being.
Is that football fans in general? Because I think Arsenal fans are very aren't they like that? It seems to be.
Yeah, sure. I think you're probably right, but obviously I don't live within the space of all the other fans who I'm
well,
sure.
I just to Arsenal, right? And it's been the weather's fault, the ball's fault. Arsenal. I know they're an extreme example, but I recognise that the likes of AFTV don't speak for the majority of the Arsenal fans. I get that, but still, I've got friends that I've got one in particular, very intelligent person, great person, but seriously turned around to me and said, "Yeah, tough conditions against Wolves." I looked at him and said, "Do you think Arsenal are the only people on the pitch that they genuinely believe that? It's just been enforced in their head."
Yeah.
I mean, you're right, not
but
Spurs.
But it does amuse me that, I do have exposure to other fans, I guess, who get involved in the refereeing debates, and basically every single fan base thinks that the referees are particularly out to get their team, which amazes me. Like, the referees can be out biased against all 20 teams all at the same time, which is quite unbelievable.
I think it's scrutinised a lot more because, let's be honest, we're struggling and we are grasping
desperation, mate, isn't it?
Whereas if we were near the top, if these were happening, we wouldn't be scrutinising them as much.
Yeah, I don't disagree. You see things like Spurs fans going, "Oh, we haven't had a penalty all season." Go and check out like the stats for this game. We only touched the ball in their box 7 times. Like, what are you expecting? So yeah, we can analyse it. I thought it was a something and a nothing. It's one of those incidents that was not a red card offence for sure. And there's going to be 5 or 6 incidents in a game where you think you should get a foul and you don't. Happens every single week to every single team. I don't see this as any different, really.
But for me, Chris, it's just more over the whole season, if you want, or whole consistency, because there is that lack of consistency in the same sort of things happen in one game. There's a red card. That thing happens in another game. It's not. I know
consistency is subjective, though.
Individuals, but it's just a consistency you want to see, really.
Well, that's just a personal opinion, isn't it? That consistency is subjective. So what you think are 2 identical incidents, the referee might view them differently for very valid reasons, and we'll get on to the pushes later on as a great example of that.
We'll get on to that. Okay, thank you very much. There you go. That is the general point. But I said, Chris, you'll know your job as host is to cover every angle. And, what some saying, I think it's just people worry that if this happened again, would it be a different decision. I think that's the issue that people have. But
Well,
what I'll put to you, right?
obviously.
This is not my belief. This is not my belief, by the way, what I'm about to say. It's not my belief at all. But a lot of people would look at it and go, you know, for example, there's a lot, the media officials, Spurs fans feel that they're out for Christian Romero. Also, some people feel, and this isn't just Spurs fans, football in general, feel that Gabriel, as an individual, gets an awful lot of protection and always has. Seems to get away with a lot. If you look at it as an outside point of view, some would say that's how it looks. This is just what I've seen on social media, been asked to put this forward to you as an ex-referee. So yeah, give me your thoughts on that. Do some centre-backs get more protection than others? Is Romero scapegoated? How do you view it?
I absolutely don't believe that. I love that thing on Romero because they go, oh, if this was Romero, and I'm like, okay, show me all the red cards that Romero has got and tell me which one's wrong. Like, he gets sent off because he commits red card offences. There's no, this agenda against Romero is absolute nonsense. Referees don't referee. Like, honestly, in all the games I ever did, there's a difference. There's being prepared and understanding what type of player you're about to referee, and then there's prejudging. I don't believe that referees prejudge. It's just not in the way that your head works as a referee. So I remember once. I didn't referee at this level, obviously. I remember doing in the league that I was in at the time, doing a top of the table game and talking to the assistants beforehand about a particular midfielder who had a propensity of going in with a high foot like Romero does. That's exactly what happened in the game. And he went in, miscontrolled it, went in over the top, studs into someone's leg. Now, I'd prepared for that. So the second the ball comes to him, I make sure I can get an angle because I know it's him. That's preparation. I get an angle where I can see, well, if he does stretch in, I can get a good view of it. And then because he goes and does it again, like Romero does on a regular basis, and he got sent off by me. Is that me prejudging him? I don't think so. It was me prepared for what he was about to do, and which he then subsequently went on and did because he's done a lot of times. I don't believe this. You don't have time in your head to go, this is this player or this is this player. You have to react super quickly as a ref, and you just judge it on what you see.
Chris, very, very quickly away from this incident, do you think the likes of ref cam, being brought out and, kind of not only the referees wearing it, but we're seeing it makes it, better for referees? Because I'll be honest with you, from a personal experience, people may disagree. I saw that and I thought, okay, there's more to a referee's job than you and me, sit and have a conversation, generally about football would think. There's a lot more to it. It's almost like a constant commentary of the game. 100%. They gained a little bit of respect, if I'm honest with you, when seeing that, right? And we don't agree with every decision, but I watched that and thought, do you know what? There's a lot of communication that goes on. It seems like a professional setup. Again, only some that I've seen, for example, but I want to know your thoughts on ref cam. It seems like a good idea.
Yeah, it's tough. You don't understand, as someone who, generally, anyone who doesn't referee doesn't understand what goes into refereeing a game of football. You think it's just see something, blow your whistle. So that gets across a little bit. So Michael Oliver in the United Spurs game gets across a little bit of the complexity of what's going on when you manage it. It is, like you said, it's like a constant commentary. You're almost coaching the players in a kind of refereeing way, because good refereeing is about preventing things. It's not just reacting to what happens, but you've got to be open to it. So I applaud you for what you just said, Harry, but what you've said tells me that you're open to understanding that refereeing maybe is quite difficult. Other people will view that ref cam footage and other ref cams that have come out and just criticize. It doesn't matter what Michael Oliver did in that video. That had been probably 75% of the comments on Twitter or wherever will just be negative. They'll just be, he's an idiot, he blah blah blah. Everyone thinks they know better, but it's a very difficult skill. I challenge anyone. It's dead easy, isn't it, to be the guy who sits on the sides up in the stands nice and high and goes, well, it's easy and this is obvious.
That's why I don't like to judge. I don't like to judge inside the stadium. My dad's like going, why are you not appealing for that penalty and things like that? So I can't see. Of course, I want the penalty, but I'm not going to go absolutely ballistic for something that I don't see. Referee's got a much better view than I have. If you take yourself emotion aside.
So sometimes being a bit of a smart ass, I do make those sort of comments. So when sort of a guy around me is berating the ref, going, how have you given that as a free kick? And I go, yeah, I can clearly see from this position 200 yards away that the referee 10 yards away has got it completely wrong. So, but
you're popular.
Yeah, well, you can imagine, sitting next to me, you don't want to sit next to me, mate. But my last point on consistency, by the way, is that all of us who criticise the ref's consistency, what do you want them to be consistent with? And the answer to that is you want them to be consistent with what you personally think that decision should be. That's what people are saying. They're not consistent. They're not consistent with what you think they should give. But when you're sat watching a game with any group of people, your mates, how often are you all in exact agreement about everything that goes on? So if the referee is consistent with your opinion, the guy next to you is going to go, oh, he's not consistent. So how can you possibly win that? It's impossible.
I think it's come out before VAR. You didn't have this argument, I don't think, about sort of consistency and everything
I could not disagree with that comment more.
You couldn't.
What I love is the segue in the last couple of weeks from the Villa Newcastle Cup game. History is being rewritten. Referees are bad because of VAR. Like they didn't make these mistakes before VAR. What an absolute load of nonsense. Why did VAR get brought in then? VAR got brought in because they were. I'm not saying you saying this, so I'm saying some of the general commentary. VAR got brought in because they were making these mistakes. And everyone goes, oh, yeah, but let's get rid of VAR. We'll accept them. Well, we saw in the FA Cup how well accepted those mistakes were, didn't we? So football.
What I meant, Chris, is like it wasn't. I'm not saying they were making mistakes before, but I think bringing VAR in has just scrutinised every little thing a lot more. So that is why, just in my opinion, is that the focus on consistency has come more because of VAR. Because you never used to have the conversations about consistency before VAR about the same sort of tackles, etc.
Are they over-reliant as well? Are they over-reliant on the officials on the set?
I think they did.
As well.
What's happened with VAR, though, is, again, I just don't think the referees can win. It was brought in for the clear and obvious errors, right? So we can sit here and you tell me, how often does a player punch another in the face and it not get picked up? How often does a foul happen 2 yards outside the area and a penalty be given and it not be fixed? How often is there a handball on the line that doesn't get punished, or a handball scored by a goal scorer that isn't picked up? How often does the Matty Cash handball not get given as a penalty? None of these things happen ever anymore, ever. So for me, in that sense, VAR has done exactly what it said it would do. But football as a whole, we forget that super fast. The managers now don't want to worry about that, but they do want to worry about the little push and the pull that happened before, or was it a corner, or was it a goal kick? And so I think the whole debate's disingenuous, because what it was, and the people who control VAR are complicit in allowing VAR to then get involved with these things. They should have just stay out of them completely and go, well, we're only here for the obvious things and we fix them. And actually, so I think VAR in that sense has been a success, but the game has demanded that we push further and further to moaning about the pushes and the pulls and how high is the foot and what is the angle of the foot. I don't think it was ever brought in for that, but that's where we are now.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris. Thank you under the spotlight there. Thank you very much, and Simon, thank you for challenging and raising a couple of good points there. Thank you very, very much. On to the second half, then we've all kind of touched on what our thoughts on the first half, and I know that none of us are happy in terms of the Arsenal having a lot of possession. Alan, I'll come to you. 47th minute, 2 minutes after the restart, Victor Gyökeres with the goal to put Arsenal back in front, 2-1 at the time. I mean, there's bad starts to the half, isn't there? And there's very bad. Could it have got much worse, really, conceding inside 120 seconds and Schumann after getting a motivational halftime team talk? And that's the period where you think, okay, put into action what the manager said, and we come out and we concede straight away. Plan gone out the window.
Oh, weirdly, I was sort of expecting it, because as much as Arsenal were the better side in the first half, I still thought they could go up another level. And I thought, if they do, we're in trouble. And they did exactly what I thought they'd do. They'd come out hard, realised that we weren't that good, and thought, you know what, let's attack these, because they're going to crumble if we do. And I sort of expected it. And again, the defence was wide open. Dragushin's all over the place again, and he's got a free hit at the goal. And how many times this season has a player had a free strike at the goal? How many times does it have to happen before the defenders or midfielders realise that we need to stop this? And going back to my old point, if somebody like Paulinho was in that middle, that may not have happened, because he would have gone through that player. Done. It wouldn't have gone through in the first place. But again, it doesn't matter. That's irrelevant because that's just hypothetical. But what did happen was we all moved out the way, let Gyökeres have a free strike. In course, he's going to score. And again, you can say Vicario's probably positional was not great, but again, it was a very powerful strike. And it was first time. It's going to be almost impossible to save. So, yeah, I expected it, to be honest, mate. I really did.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate your honesty. Simon, if I come to you, it's always difficult, isn't it, to praise the opposition, particularly when it's Arsenal and an Arsenal player as well. But Victor Gyökeres, that was very clinical from him. He's shown a lack of confidence, I think, lack of quality as well, if we're honest, in front of goal. But this was, real strikers got it, Fent. He made that situation his. So you have to admit, although, bad for our part to give him the space, Alan rightly points out there in terms of Paulinho and giving his opinion. But do you think also we've got to just go fair play, good goal?
Yeah, it's an extent good strike. A lot of power. I mean, I disagree with Alan slightly, where I think, Vicario could have got a hand to that, really. I mean, whether or not he'd have still kept it out then because of the power, he's neither here nor there. But, it's just, his reactions were quite slow, I thought. But where I do agree with Alan is there was just, he had so much space there to bring it down and strike it. No one really closing him down. It's just rinse and repeat every single game at the moment, with the opposition players having so much time in the area or on the edge of the area. Because where has it gone where you've got a defender rushing out, putting their body on the line to block it, get right in there. They just turn their backs every time and stuff like that. And it's just really frustrating. I mean, credit where credit's due for the lad. He obviously was at Coventry a few years ago, and now he's moved on to what he's doing with Arsenal after being in Portugal. So, yeah, good strike. So credit to him. But he shouldn't have even got to that, to be fair, Harry.
Okay, thank you very much. So 53rd minute won't talk as long about officials, but we mentioned it briefly. So Kyle Mwani thought he scored, but no, it was disallowed. So let's remind ourselves a little bit by watching the goal back.
I mean, I'll tell you, it's not a lot. You see more from any corner coming into the box around the goal.
Hey, you want to sit down on the bed?
Not full screen, unfortunately, but you saw there for briefly from Kyle Mwani. So there we go, and a lot of people will refer back to the incident with, if it lets me show it, with Christian Romero, where unfortunately for him, in Tottenham's case, look, this is a scenario that Spurs fans will refer back to, where it's TK, and it looks like it appears two hands on Romero and that Liverpool goal standing. Chris, I'm going to start with you as next referee to remind people. So, should Kyle Mwani's goal have stood? Should it have been 2-2?
No. So, Joe, honest question for you guys. So that action by Mwani is before, as the ball's coming in, right? It's not part of challenging for the ball. So what is Mwani's intention when he's doing that? If it's not to foul the opponent, what is his intention?
It's to get more space, to get him out the way. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I fully take the view, and I absolutely concede that it's milked by Gabriel. But the second you put your hands out and you make contact in the back like that, it's gonna just to emphasize, being a ref can ruin the match day experience. So as that happened, everybody around me stood up and cheered when I just turned to the lady next to me and said, "I'll get disallowed." Because I just knew straight away. I could see straight away. I thought there's zero chance that stands. So it wasn't the worst push in the world, but I think you have to get into some sort of a little bit of a delusion to convince yourself it's okay, because we can't. It's impossible to argue that he didn't put the hands into the back of Gabriel. You can argue that he didn't push him much, for sure. You can argue that. You can't argue he didn't push him. It's a foul. So the exaggeration by Gabriel is frustrating for us because he's an Arsenal player. But if that was the other end, we would want our defender to do what Gabriel did, and we would want and expect a free kick, and we'd be up in arms if that goal was allowed against us. So I think it's just the nature of football fans that we're partisan as Spurs fans, so we interpret it a certain way. And we want. I always say about football fans, they're not interested in what the correct decision is. They've got a vested interest in being outraged that their team is hard done to, and that's for most people. That's what the situation. So I know what you're going to throw at me now, though.
No, I'm not for a minute. I will in a second. Just a joke. Go on, Simon.
I was always under the understanding that 2 hands on the back of a player was a foul anyway, whether it's
pretty much,
whether
but
it's Gabriel's or whether it's Romero's. I think they're both fouls.
Wait, Chris, before you respond, 2 seconds. I'm going to show the clip that I wanted to, the one that is full screen, to give again remind people. It's easy to forget. We get a lot of decisions that are a lot of people have an opinion about. So let's have a look.
I mean, it's a deflected one, which means that Raya can't come for it. It just loops. It is soft from Gabriel. We've seen that before, but I think the arm on the back there, the 2 arms on the back, it will not be given.
Indeed, it has not been given. The VAR concurs with that version of events down in England.
So there we go. I mean, whatever we think of it, it was a beautiful touchdown from Colin Warney. So yeah, Chris, get into that then about 2 hands on the back, because that's the problem that Spurs fans will have. I mean, Spurs fans will feel hard done by this, because a lot of people look at it and will go, okay, if that goal goes in 2-2, will the game be a little bit different?
Yeah, sure. But I'm waiting for you to throw the next thing at me, to be honest. But I'm 100% with Gary Neville. I thought he called it absolutely correct. When you look at it more, you can't argue that it's not milked and it's not exaggerated. And I take all of those things, but that is just modern football. And as much as I dislike saying this, that's what a professional footballer does. They exaggerate things so that they get the decision for their team. So I saw something saying, Gabriel, somewhere in Twitter, probably another nonsense opinion, Gabriel can't be a world-class centre-back if he's doing that. And I'm like, well, that's exactly, he's getting the decision for his team. Like, it's exactly what I expect him to do.
Thank you very much, Chris.
I think you've got another example, haven't you, coming up?
Yes. Well,
can I just say something on that as well?
Please.
What's the most frustrating part about that is Gabriel was looking for the touch on the back. He knew it was coming. Yeah. If Mawani just didn't do that, it would have gone over his head anyway, and he would have got the goal. So Mawani knows if he does that, it's probably more likely to be disallowed. So Mawani's intelligence there wasn't as good. He should have just stepped back. It probably would have came to him anyway. So that's the frustrating part for me.
I completely agree. That's such an obvious action.
Yeah.
That you're going to get penalised. So what's the point in even doing it?
We know about VAR. Be more clever. That's what I'm saying.
If that's all you can do to win the ball, you might as well not do it and let him head it out for a corner or a goal kick, right? Yeah, or for a throw-in. Rather,
but it was obvious to me. Well, it's more obvious in slow motion that Gabriel was going to do that regardless if he got touched or not. He was going to try and play for the foul. So he was hoping that native behind him would do this, and he fell for it.
For the foul happens all the time in football. Most commonly, when a defender's in a defensive area and they're kind of backed into a corner and they're shielding it from the attacker, how often do they just throw themselves to the floor like an absolute sack of potatoes? And
we don't like it, but
mostly we'll give them the free kick as referees. Mostly we will, for various reasons.
This modern day football is frustrating for fans because obviously we, as an older fan, it never used to be like this. So it's for us really frustrating. But the players know. So they need to use their intelligence a little bit more and not be fooled into doing things like that. Gabriel was more intelligent in that situation. That's why he got away with it. But yeah, it's still frustrating though.
Agree with that.
Frustrating nonetheless. I think we're all in agreement about that. Whatever we think, foul, no foul. But, sense of injustice, I think a feeling amongst Spurs fans. But for now, we will progress to something ultimately even worse, because not only that, Spurs fans were thinking 2-2, but in the 61st minute, Arsenal really stamping their authority with the third goal. Being 2 goals ahead in the 61st minute, and of course it was Eberechi Eze again. He's second of the game. Alan, coming to you, Dragusin, And I mean, what's he doing? I mean, I think it was him and Basuma. Well, I don't know what game they're trying to play between them two. I mean, like they're forgetting everyone else is around them. I don't know what they're thinking, but give us your thoughts on that goal. It just felt avoidable from my perspective, and I think fans feel the same.
Yeah, it just felt like a couple of headless chickens running around in circles, and a couple of 1-2s, and they're out of the game straight away. And it was just very frustrating that it's always bloody Eze. Like, that's the first thing I said. Him again. I was really annoyed it was him. But I know how they feel now when Harry Kane used to score against them every single time. But yeah, the Dragushin is slowly proving that he's not up to this level, in my opinion. Game by game, every time I watch him, he hasn't shown me anything really for me to suggest that he's got. If we want to be in the future playing Champions League football, and obviously not now, but in time, Dragushin's not the guy. So I'd rather play Byfield, like I said earlier, than play him. I don't see what the difference would be other than the age. Byfield will probably, so far what I've seen of him, he's made no mistakes. He's been calm, collective. No one's really got past him, to be honest. Dragushin is the opposite. So Basuma, like, I gave up on him a long time ago. His discipline's absolutely horrendous. He can't stay positioned in midfield. He doesn't follow his men. It's like having a hole in midfield when you've got him. He'll every 10 minutes he'll do something good, and everyone goes, "Oh, that was good from Basuma." But then I used to be a footballer, so I watch players off the ball as well, and Basuma off the ball is terrible. If you ever watch him off the ball, he's always doing this. He doesn't know where he's going. He's following he was following the same man. Like, instead of marking someone else, he was following the same man at times. And I'm like, what are you doing? And it just creates gaps elsewhere on the pitch. And like, this is why I wanted Paulinho in the middle, because he knows what he's doing. Basuma doesn't. And obviously we've got no choice but to play him at the moment. So I'd rather have had Gray in centre back and put Paulinho in the middle. Well, I would have rather done that. But yeah, that goal was horrendous. Another horrendous goal. Like, add to the 50 this season that have been horrendous. I think I'd say, I can't even put a percentage on it, but let's hypothetically put a percentage on it. 50% of the goals we've let in have been because of us, because of what we've done wrong, not because of the opposition have been that great.
And that's been kind. That's been kind. Yeah.
It's been stupid mistake after stupid mistake. And it's not the mistake, the initial mistake for the goal. It's the 3 or 4 mistakes leading up to the goal as well. Gaping holes in the middle, like not marking your man, not following your man. There was a time when I think it was Saka ran around the back and Xavi didn't follow him. And he just went round on his own. And I'm like, this is like standard basic football. And you're not doing the basics. None of them are. So, and when you've got an 11, if just three players are not doing the basics, it fucks up the whole team. It really does. The whole team are out of position because they've got to then cover the players that are out of position, leaves gaping holes. And these things are going to happen all the time unless we sort that out.
Absolutely, Alan. I apologise on your behalf about the language, but I think you're absolutely
Sorry,
right.
mate.
What you're saying. No, you're fine. A lot of people agree. I've got to say, in case there's any younger audience listening,
you have to edit it, put some bleeps in.
You're right. Yeah, I wish you could, but unfortunately, the beauty of it being live, you cannot. It's a great thing, but you do what I do at the start and start slow like Tottenham, and you press the wrong button, and it's just you on screen, and get accused of being the centre of attention. It's not.
Sorry, mate, apologies to
that.
anybody who's offended by my language.
No, nobody will be offended. You're fine. Thank you very, very much. Simon, I'll come to you. I hate to ask a question. I'm not going to word it in the way that Arsenal fans do in terms of does Eze own Tottenham, but in reality, he scored 5 goals against us. It's not a good look, is it? A player that we could have signed, maybe. Some would say, I want to get your thoughts, say if you disagree, but some would say, show a bit more ambition, we get him through the door, and ultimately he's a guy that scored 5 goals across 2 games against us. It's pretty humiliating, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. More so, I think, because I think from the first game away against them, I don't think he started the game for a long while after that. And potentially yesterday was his first game he'd started for him for a couple of months, maybe since the previous Arsenal Spurs game. So yeah, it is. It looks like he's going to be a thorn in our back for a while. To be fair, he's a good player. He's a decent player. would have been great to get him, but I think he was just stringing us along and waiting for Arsenal to come in, to be honest. Been a boyhood fan, apparently. So it is what it is, Harry. At the end of the day, we didn't get him. And we just move on with it. So, yeah, I was just, out of all of them, 2 players I didn't want to score against us was Saka, which he didn't, which was good, and Eze. And there you go, Eze went and got 2. So, never get what you wish.
Typical, isn't it? Written in the stars, isn't it? Unfortunately, if we're being honest with you, I think our Spurs fans had in our head losing badly to Arsenal, Eze scoring a couple of goals. It just felt like everything that could have possibly gone wrong, it went wrong. And I don't know about you guys, but a lot of Spurs fans would say, and I'd be inclined to agree with them, that in the 84th minute, and Chris, I come to you to get your thoughts, that's when you knew, 84th minute, that it wouldn't be Spurs Day, when David Raya clawed it off the line. Do you think do you agree with me that was the moment we thought, oh, do you know what? This is one of them. And so as well as that, but also Vicario, less imagine he's in that situation. Does Vicario keep that from going over the line?
I don't know. I mean, my views on Vicario haven't changed since day one. Even a couple of seasons ago, where 90% of the fan base loved him, I've never liked him, because I just don't think the trade-off in the weaknesses of his game are worth what strengths he has. But in terms of, look, it was a decent reaction from Raya. As bad as we were, 2 goals down, obviously, if you can get to 1 goal down, then it does become potentially a bit of a siege for the last few minutes. We might have would have had an outside chance, but we didn't deserve anything anyway. I mean, what did we actually really create? So we had the disallowed goal. We had that we're just talking about now, the clawing off the line. Aside from that, I can't off the top of my head really remember anything significant that we did in the second half. It was a painful watch. So I think the Vicario debate's sort of coming to an end in this. I'm surprised slightly that the fan base has come around to my point of view that I had originally, because I don't actually think he's any worse now than he ever has been, in my opinion. I thought he was rubbish from the beginning, but it looks like he'll leave anyway in the summer. So I think it's just a useful time for both of us to part.
He just doesn't command his area. He doesn't fill the defence with confidence. He's just a shot stopper. That's all he's good at.
And at times, a very good shot stopper.
Yeah.
But exactly what you've just said, for me personally, and we all have our own views, that is where I start with a goalkeeper, commanding, coming from the ball. And he's never had any of it, which is why it doesn't matter how good a shot stopper he's going to be. He was never going to win me personally over. Well, I'm not trying to be clever after the event. That's just the way I view goalkeepers personally.
To me as well, Chris, he's lost his confidence, even though he wasn't very good at it in the first place. But his distribution, I mean, how many times yesterday where the defender's taking the goal kick for us because, he didn't want to take the goal kick or what? I don't know what the reason was, but, he's got to be moved on in the summer, in my opinion. And I'm like you, Chris. Since day one, I've just thought he isn't good enough, really. So.
Okay. Alan, to bring you in on this conversation, confidence was mentioned there. Do you also think the back line have no confidence in Vicario? Have they ever had confidence in Vicario, going to Chris' point? How do you view Vicario at the moment?
I don't know about ever, but they're not confident giving him the ball. Not at all. How many times do we have to watch him kick it off the pitch? Giving Vicario the ball is like giving the opposition the ball, because he kicks it off the pitch or he kicks it to their players. His distribution is awful, absolutely awful. And to be a professional footballer and you can't use your feet. I know you're a goalkeeper, but you can't use your feet. Come on, man. And then not only that, when this thing about shot stopping, this really gets me as well. The basic for a goalkeeper is to stop shots. That's the basics. That's the basic thing a goalkeeper's got to do is stop shots. So when people say he's a good shot stopper, good, because you're a professional goalie. You're supposed to do that. You're supposed to stop shots. He can't do anything else. He can't come for crosses. He flaps at crosses. His positional awareness is poor. He even when he comes out for punches, he misguides the flight of the ball and it goes over him. Players are flapping about trying to protect him. If it wasn't for Van de Ven, we probably wouldn't have won the Europa League, because he had to cover another mistake from Vicario. And imagine the stick he would have got because he came out, missed it completely. Van de Ven saved him. If that didn't happen, again, we would have been saying it was his fault. And so how many mistakes does a goalkeeper have to make before he gets replaced? And we've got Kingsky, and nobody knows how good he is. I'm not going to sit here and say he's the solution, because he's not had enough game time for us to judge him. But ball-wise, 10 times better on the ball than Vicario is. I'm not sure about his coming from crosses yet. He still hasn't convinced me there. But give him a chance. If Vicario, you can't do any worse, can he? You can't do any worse than what Vicario's doing.
Alan,
surely.
If that was a striker missing chance after chance,
Exactly,
after chance, it'd be dropped and another striker would come in. So I agree with you. I mean, how long before Kinski is just given the game? I mean, I don't know if you guys know, was he slightly injured yesterday because he wasn't even on the bench?
He had a knock, didn't he? So that's why he didn't.
Yeah, he got a minor knock, very short-term knock. So yeah, he should be back for next game.
He was due apparently to go to West Ham on loan in the January transfer window. They stopped that from happening. So
that would have been horrendous as well.
Give him a game against Fulham this week.
I thought that was really odd, because that has implications for Champions League registration. So it kind of made no sense to swap reserve keepers. Although, as bad as the season as he had last year, I quite like Hermansen, the West Ham keeper. I thought he did well at Leicester, but
no.
Harry's face there.
Let me just go. I go as far as saying he's not good enough for the Championship. I cannot. There's not many worse goalkeepers. I don't think he was. Why was he their second or third keeper in the end when they sold him? And that's what I'd say to you. Why couldn't he get a game for Leicester at the end?
Oh, I think
I can't believe that Donnarumma went for so cheap to Man City. How much did he go for to Man City?
So cheap. Oh,
I know he's not going to come to us over Man City. I know that. But how the hell did they get that bargain? We've got Vicario. I can't believe it. Like, our recruiting is absolutely terrible.
Here we go. Really so Donnarumma went to Man City for 26 million. I mean, what did we say?
That's a bargain. He could be the difference between them winning the Premier League now. Like some of the saves he's pulling off and commanding that
11 million more.
Complete goalkeeper.
11 more than Vicario. It's chalk and cheese. Yeah.
It is. Isn't they in the same international team as well? Vicario's got no chance of getting in that team. No chance.
He doesn't play at all, and neither does Doggy really. But Doggy at the moment cannot stay fit. Doggy's averaging at least 3. I read the other day 3.1 injuries per season in his last 3. That's just completely unsustainable, some would say. Before we move on, the last Arsenal goal, unfortunately, to discuss is in the 94th minute. Victor Gyökeres with a brace. As they scored 2, Gyökeres scored 2. Simon Spence keeps hold of the ball for a long while. We saw this multiple times in the game. How do you view this? Is it a lack of trust, a lack of confidence in his teammates? Is it, not remembering it's a team game? How do you view this? Spencer's keeping it for a long time, looking around him, knowing he's in a difficult situation. He's got the pass there. Or often it was Basuma or Sarr to pass to. But do you think he looked up at them and went, "No, I'm right, mate. I'm going to go on my own"?
He does that such a lot, Harry, where he'll just hold the ball and he's got 3 players on him and he just won't, pass it to a player. He frustrates me immensely, and this will upset quite a few of the fans. I would have thought. I think he's overrated, really, Jed Spence. I don't think he'd be our first choice at right back if Porro was fit. He shouldn't even be at left back because obviously, he hasn't got a left foot. He's just constantly cutting inside. He just frustrates me. He doesn't. If he loses a ball, you'll see he doesn't bust a gut to get back. He'll jog, and then people are having to cover him. I don't know about him having confidence in the other players. If I was the other players, I wouldn't have confidence in him. Game's about opinions, isn't it? That's my opinion on Jed Spence, to be honest. But with all the injuries, we've got to play him. We're playing him as it is. And, it just frustrates me, Harry. I just don't want to get in the conversation about Jed Spence because he's probably the one who frustrates me the most out of the whole squad.
Okay. That's interesting. That's really interesting. Not many people have said that. That's really interesting to hear that perspective. Simon, I do appreciate that. Yeah, just a couple of things. So Wrexham, Mansfield and Macclesfield, I repeat, Wrexham, Mansfield and Macclesfield. You heard that right. They've each beaten more Premier League teams in 2026 than Tottenham. Tottenham 1-0. 0 Premier League games in 2026. Goodness me, I can't even tell you when the last home win was. Certainly was not, a long time ago, let's say. It was a long time ago. Anyway, so that's that stat. Couple of interesting things. So one is Igor Tudor, and he's trying to get the attention of Van der Ven about moving the backbone forward. That's doing the rounds on social media, playing it now. Chris, what do you make of what you've just seen there? I saw some comments on X, Spurs fans saying, Van der Ven looks like a kid that's just about to be told off by a mean teacher. Is that harsh?
I feel
Doesn't
like
look good.
The kind of thing that goes on loads of games up and down the country. Like we're focusing on it because we're trying to overanalyze absolutely everything and blame everybody.
But as captain, hasn't he got to listen to the manager? He looks at him and appears to, we don't know, but appears to blank him because Tudor's going under his arm, which you'd assume means move up the pitch. Your captain, move your back line, your defenders with you, your two centre-back partnerships, move up that line. And if anything, Dragusin go. If you look at it, they go deeper more than anything. It's not a good look for Van der Ven, who's previously blanked Thomas Frank, whatever you thought of him, walked past him and failed to clap the fans and acknowledge the manager. Is this really captain behaviour?
Well, I kind of agree with one bit you said there, which was sort of what it appears to be. I don't think we really can possibly know what's actually happened. But because we're so desperate to apportion blame for everything going wrong, all these sort of videos come up and go, this is disgraceful, that's disgraceful. I don't know. I don't know what's happened. You don't know Van der Ven's side of the story. So has he heard? And you just can't possibly know. It's difficult when you're out in the middle to really, there's a lot going on. A lot of people are talking to each other. You don't appreciate that from the outside. It's quite noisy. So whether he's heard that or not, clearly, who knows? Who knows? So I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon because I think there's much bigger things to worry about, to be honest.
I think when you're watching that video, I think at the start he's not necessarily talking to Van der Ven. In my personal opinion, when you're looking at it, it looks like he's looking to Van der Ven's left and he might be aiming it at Dragusin, most likely, which would be understandable, really. Like, as Alan said, he's pretty useless, Dragusin is.
But then Dragusin goes deeper. So that's
So,
interesting. He goes a lot deeper.
What I'm trying to get at is people are all bombarding on Van der Ven, but I don't think at the start he's talking to Van der Ven, in my opinion. At the end, towards the end, he does, because you see Van der Ven look at him. But, I don't think in the whole of that video he's trying to communicate to Van der Ven, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And obviously we'll never know exactly. Okay. It might get brought up in the next press conference for him. You just don't know, do you?
You've led me on perfectly to my next point. So here's what Tudor said after the game.
It's our goal. Where is the goal of this club? Where is the goal of this team? Where is the goal of this coach and of this player and all stuff? To become serious, not just group of 20 players, and the medicine is you look in the mirror, each of us looking in the mirror, and really try and really start to change the habits.
There we go then. It's funny, isn't it, what Spurs can do to a man just one game in. And in all seriousness, Alan, do you think he's already starting to have regrets, thinking, goodness me, what have I signed up to? And I don't like to ask that question, but the reason I am, I've got to, as host, cover all corners. But the general point is, right, if he gets, 14th, 15th with Tottenham, that's not great in the CV. You're not going to get too much credit for that for years to come. But you at risk of potentially taking Tottenham down. That is career ending, in my view. That is catastrophic for, if we focus on just Tudor in this case. So do you think he's starting to regret what he's walked into? Maybe worse than he's realised?
No, he would know exactly what was going on. Nobody takes a job without checking out the background. It doesn't matter what job you're in. You're not going to just jump into a job and know nothing about it, are you? So he knew what he was coming into. He knew about the injuries. He did make another quote, and he said that I'm happy that the players have got the passion, they've got the will, but they're not able to do it in this moment, which for me is a little bit worrying, that he's given them instructions and they're not able to do it yet. So for me, depending on what the instructions were, but if one of the instructions was to press high and they're not doing it, then that's very worrying. But there's a lot to it than just telling the players what you want and them doing it. There's a lot more to it. He's come in, his first game is against Arsenal, who are top of the league, who are a wounded animal because they've got a lot of stick throughout the week because of the Wolves game. They were going to be up for it. We've got a massive amount of injuries. We had to play players out of position. We're sort of expecting it in a way. Like, we thought there might be a new manager bounce, but
Alan, sorry to interrupt. Do you think that, just to add on to what you're saying, do you think it was almost a free hit? Would you guys, I know against Arsenal, you really want the result. Was it a free hit for him? Little expectation? Because he wasn't really, are we judging him that much on the game? We're probably judging the situation we're in.
We can't afford to have free hits at the minute, mate. We can't afford to have free hits. When we've changed managers now, we've changed it for a reason, to start getting points. And yes, it's going to be almost impossible against Arsenal. We can judge him more when we play against Fulhams and the Crystal Palaces. But if we carry on playing like this, I promise you we'll get relegated. Wolves got a point at Arsenal. Forest got a point against Arsenal. Brentford got a point against Arsenal. All teams around us, and we got battered by Arsenal. Every team around us so far are playing better than we are. So what we need to do is we need to play better. Regardless of formations or tactics or anything like that, they need to play better. We're not even playing any football. If I watch Wolves, if I watch Brentford, I've watched all the teams. They play football at parts of the game. They're playing football. They're creating attacks. They're putting the balls up to the strikers and they're playing off him. We're doing none of that at the minute. We are literally, since January the 1st, the worst team in the league. We've got 4 points since January the 1st. Do you know how many Wolves have got? Bottom of the league, worst team in Premier League history, 7 since January the 1st. We are the worst team in the league since January the 1st. And people are still thinking, oh, what's all right, we won't go down. We will if we carry on in this road. So as much as people keep saying I'm negative for saying that, tell me something that you've seen since January the 1st. And I'm saying it from January because it's starting to become the business end of the season. Tell me something that Spurs have done that you can get behind to think things are going to be different at the moment, other than change the manager.
I was just going to say, someone say the change in manager would bring results over time. But you're right, we've got to go off what we see with our eyes, performances and results. And a lot of people say it's been really concerning. But Alan, if you had to stick your neck on the line now, and I'm sorry to be difficult, do you think we'll be playing Premier League football or not next year? You say that we could be at risk of going down. We're going to be in the battle. Find it hard to disagree with you. Others will, I'm sure, feel the same. But do you actually think that we'll be in the Premier League or we'll be, playing EFL football?
I'd like to think we've got enough. I think if the players come back and we don't get any more injuries, maybe we'll stay up. But I don't think it's going to be as clear-cut as everyone thinks. I think it's going to go right down to the wire. Here's a situation for you. Near the end of the season, West Ham are playing Arsenal. If Arsenal win, they win the league. If West Ham win, we get relegated. Imagine that scenario. That's something I don't want to be watching. That'd be crazy. So, I'd want to stay up.
Yeah,
I'd want to stay up. If they win the league, they win the league. But I don't want to get relegated. No way. No way. Because we may not even come back up. And people always say, oh, we'll just come back up. We're Tottenham. You don't know. All the best players will leave. We might not replace them. I don't trust Enoch for a second to even give us any good players to go back up again. So, no, I do not want to get relegated. But it's a real chance. I watched us in the 90s and we were very bad. But we had men then and they fought their way out of relegation. We haven't got men now, and that's the problem. And it's going to be very, very difficult.
Alan, you remember it was in the 90s and we got Jurgen Klinsmann back to save us from near relegation, wasn't it? Against Wimbledon, he scored 4 goals or something. I mean,
because that was his second stint, weren't it?
Yeah.
And he scored 4 goals against Wimbledon,
That was the only other time before Klinsmann came that I was as nervous as what I am now.
And we haven't got a Klinsmann this time.
Yeah, and we haven't got anyone coming in that is a world beater or, someone to, put everything on. We haven't got that. So I agree with you, Alan.
People won't believe it, but that side in the 90s was more stronger than the one we've got now.
Yeah.
And yes, we've got loads of injuries, and that does count into it. Because these injuries are not coming back anytime soon, that's why I'm not counting them at the moment. The team we've got right now, the basically second string almost, is not good enough. And we are slowly getting dragged into it. And if we don't beat Fulham, and we haven't beat Fulham for a long time away, if we don't and West Ham win, it's 1 point. That's it's serious then. And then are these players up for the scrap? Because at the moment, they're not showing that they are.
Alan, do you think fans are taking it serious enough? Some people look at it and go, Spurs are too big to go down. It sounds like you're saying that is not the case. Would you agree with that? That it isn't the case.
We're not
Anyone's
too big
capable
to
of
go
going
down. We're not too big to go down. Every other team around us are showing fight apart from us. We're the only team that so far hasn't showed anything.
I don't know. Forest are looking pretty ropey.
But they should have beat Liverpool. They were all
They
over
showed
Liverpool.
fight against Liverpool.
They were all over Liverpool. They should have beat them.
No, it doesn't really matter if you still lose at the end, though, does it?
No, it doesn't matter. But they showed fight. Did we show anything to beat Arsenal at all? They showed something that they can beat Liverpool. We didn't show anything. That's the difference. Yeah, we still lost, by the way, as well.
We have shown fight in little small bursts here and there, certainly as much as Forest, in my view.
I think the words as well, what you were saying earlier, Harry, about a free hit. I think free hit's the wrong sort of word. I think whatever result was yesterday, no blame. If we'd have won, or obviously we lost, there's no blame realistically going on Tudor, considering he'd just taken over. Whereas starting from Fulham this Sunday, this is all on Tudor now. Getting those players geared up for and he himself looks the type of guy you would want in a relegation fight, because he looks mean. You don't want to cross him. He's just got to put that over to the players now, because like Alan said, we are deep in it. There's no team's ever not big enough to go down. And if we go down, like Alan said, there's no guarantee we'll come back. ENIC won't sell if we go down, because the price of the club will drop massively, so they're not going to sell then. So yeah, this is a worrying couple of months, really.
Okay, we've got a couple of questions before I finish. Thank you, all of you, for that. Chris, I'm going to give you the first one. So, it goes without saying, a tough start for Tudor, but you think it's a learning curve? Of course, we wouldn't want it like that. We would want it another way, of course. But ultimately, do you think that he's learned some things from that? To really realise that we're in a tough situation. He doesn't want to talk about relegation. He says it's not helpful at all. So, also, what do you think of his approach to that situation?
I mean, it might have learned the stark reality of what he's let himself in for, possibly, and that these players really are not very good. But yeah, look, I don't have any sympathy for Tudor. He's getting paid God knows how much money, and I'm sure he's got a huge bonus to make sure we don't go down. So, but I don't see what he can do, really. I don't think he massively has the time to start worrying about huge learning curves, whether it's for him or whether it's for the players. We haven't really got the time. We've just got to stick to some very basics and try and grind our way to getting some results, unfortunately. And I would say, I'll just throw this in, there's a lot of narrative around Thomas Frank, and I know you and I, Harry, were probably, I wouldn't say necessarily amongst his defenders, but we were certainly amongst the last people to be completely convinced he was absolutely the wrong person. There was an awful lot of narrative of, this is all Thomas Frank, and as soon as someone else comes in, they'll let the handbrake off and it'll all be different. Well, it wasn't, was it? In fact, arguably for me, if anything, it was slightly worse under Tudor. So I don't know what we're expecting of him. I think this is what it's going to be. My only hope comes from, I mean, we're 5-1 to go down for a reason. So it's not as though we're odds on, and 5-1's relatively unlikely. It's a 1 in 6 chance. That's what, about 16-17% likelihood. It's not impossible. 5-1 shots come in. But there's a good reason for that, because I think if you look at West Ham, people seem to be making out like West Ham, yeah, they've shown a bit more fight, but they haven't turned into Barcelona or anything. And you look at their actual fixture list, compare that to there's no question between us, Forest, and West Ham, we have the easier running. That's factual if you look at the average position of our opponents. So if we can't get enough points from who have we got? Palace, Forest, Brighton, Everton and Leeds at home, and Newcastle away. Sorry, not Newcastle away. Wolves away. We have got Newcastle to play, I think. Have we? Maybe we haven't. But Wolves away, I meant anyway. If we can't get the points from those games, we deserve to go down. We deserve to go down. But I still think we will. I'm not quite sure how. I can't construct a hugely great convincing argument to say, well, the only one is that some of the players coming back hopefully might make a difference. But that's not going to be, I don't believe Kulusevski or Maddison will play a minute this season. But maybe if you can get, I don't even rate Porro massively, but just give us a bit of stability, a bit of balance that we don't currently have. Hopefully people like Porro might come back. We might get a Dogie back for a few games and we might just look a little bit better enough that we can beat a Leeds at home. But we've got a big couple of weeks, and if we don't get anything at Fulham, and I don't expect us to win, so if we don't win that, Palace is a massive game. If we don't win that, we're not going to get anything at Liverpool. Then Nottingham Forest at home on the 22nd of March is the biggest game that I can remember for us, possibly since the Champions League final. You might even argue more important, because if we lost that, I think there's a very, very serious conversation to be had. But I'm not there yet. I'm aware of the reality. I accept there's a definite chance, but I still think it's pretty unlikely at this stage.
What I want to add to that as well is we're still in the Champions League. We've got bare bones regarding players, and we've got to play twice a week again soon. Not many times, because it depends on if we go through. But if we did,
Forest are going to have that. That's a good for us that Forest are going to be in that situation. And Leeds still in the cup as well.
Yeah, they will be too as well, yeah. But are they going to concentrate on the European success if they know they're going to get relegated? Because I think there'll be a lot more money.
3-0 last week, didn't they, away? So
yeah. So yeah, that's a good shout. But so yeah, depends on what we do in the Champions League. It just and depends on how many more injuries we get, because we're bare bones at the moment. Forest are not bare bones. Their squad is like they can handle 2 games a week. We can't. That's the difference. So it's going to be very, very difficult.
We've also got Sunderland away, by the way, and for
that's a very hard game. Very hard.
For all the praise they got earlier in the season, they are doing that right now. They're getting slapped.
But they're in a good position where they're safe. That's the problem. They're okay.
That's a good thing.
You are right there.
That's a good thing.
Oh yeah, of course it is. And they've lost at home form, haven't they? Lost the last 2 at home. So yeah, interesting stuff. Right, just before we wrap up, then I just want to read out some YouTube comments. A load, so I'm just going to pick out a select few. Big up. If I haven't read your comment out, nothing against you, just picking out a random select few here. But yeah, if you really want to put your comment across, if you put it in for a second time, I'll be able to see it. Holly says, I hope we don't go down. Big up to Holly, by the way, fantastic content creator of Spurs. Holly Hotspurs. She says, I hope we don't go down. It's easy to go down and up again, especially how we like to spend. Championship is a different beast, yeah, absolutely that. And we've all got here definitely Spurs. That's a name and a half. It says yesterday has to be the worst North London derby I've seen at home. Big up. We've got another YouTube channel here, Spurs Diehards. Big up. A load of people in here. Dash, who says I don't have any words for what I'm saying week in, week out. I'm still being optimistic that we'll somehow stay up. But as Tudor said, we need to change these old habits. Stephanie Spurs saying I can't see us getting any. This is interesting. He says I can't see us getting more than 2 points from our remaining games. Wow, we genuinely look worse than Wolves. Okay, if we get 2 points, we might even not finish 18th. We might be 19th. They barely get their acts in gear. 2 points. If you're still listening, definitely Spurs, where are you getting those 2 points? I'm very surprised. I thought I was quite negative because I'm thinking to myself, will it be double digit? Will it be single digits? But never did I ever think it'd be anything like 2. In my head, I'm thinking, 9 and beyond. But interesting, you've gone for 2. Oh, he's explained here. My bad. It says Forest, Leeds, Everton, and Palace. Out of those, 2 points max. Okay, I don't know which ones out of there you think you're going to get 2 because you listed 4 there. So I'm not sure 100%. If you mean 2 points out of those games, that's bad enough, really. That or 2 points for the rest of the season. Neither is great, but let me know. Robbie saying Pauline is more effective in defensive midfield. That's what's been said on the panel with the likes of Alan. Even if we stay up, the damage will already been done. He says, I'm from India, big up. He says, I just wonder how we'll be able to pull in that new fans globally if we finish just above relegation consecutively. That's a very, very good point. Incredible point, really, if you think about it, in terms of bringing in that reach for the club. Because ultimately, if we next season, let's say we stay in the Premier League, this season, I should say, stay in the Premier League, next year play Premier League football, and we finish, let's say, 17th or 16th again, then, reputation is at risk of being damaged. That's a very, very good shout. Appreciate that. What have we got here? Gray was awful yesterday. Load of that one. Yeah, Slanky had as a starter. It's interesting. Square pegs and round holes is a 4-1 to loss to Chelsea in 2023. Okay, load of good comments. Thank you to everybody. Really appreciate all the contribution. But that does wrap us up for this episode of the Scarfey Spurs podcast. Big thank you to everyone that's listened. Appreciate all the support. Slow going so far this year, but it's recently got going in the last 48 hours or so. So thank you for all the support. And the channel won 2 awards last year. I won an award as well myself. So thank you very much for the continued support. Let's go through and see if you can find my panel on social media. You know I'm Harry Scarfe, your host, as always. Chris, thank you for your time. Ex-referee, I mean, you must be hating, having to come on podcasts like this and, backs against the wall. But at the same time, I know that you'll never back down from a challenge. So thank you for that. And, as a Spurs on the course as well, losing the game is never easy. But where can people follow you on the socials?
Yeah, just on X at that Spurs CC handle. To be fair, I got an easier ride today. It was a more receptive panel than I thought it might be. It all depends when you go on. If people are open to a objective viewpoint and don't just want to say that Spurs are hard done to, then it's a reasonable discussion. I'm not always right, and people can go, I still don't agree at the end of it. No issue with that. But a lot of fans, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how obvious the error or not might be. They just want to be outraged, and those discussions are hard. So big up to you guys, because it wasn't a difficult discussion. It was reasonable. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely. I mean, we all have our opinions about referees, I'm sure, officials, different moments, different games, but at the end of the day, it's where you conduct yourself. And really, you realise, I just say to any fans, I don't want to convince you at all, but just watch RefCam for a minute. It's honestly an eye-opener for myself, I found anyway. You might not find the same, though. Chris, thank you. Alan, thank you so much for coming on. Tell people where they can follow you on social media and also subscribe to your YouTube channel, Tottenham Logic TV. How's it going over there?
Yeah, it's going good, mate. Looking to start doing some lives soon. I don't really do lives because of family and that. It's not easy. But I'll be trying to do that soon. I already do reaction videos. I get all Tottenham YouTubers on, and they give me the reactions to each game. And so I do a channel like that I do an episode of that at least once per week. You guys are welcome to come on if you want to come on as well. So yeah, I do a daily content every single day. I'll put something out talking about Spurs. I try to give a logical sense of what's going on. Sometimes I'm emotional, which will make my thoughts a little bit skewed, but then not later on, a few days later, you'll probably see me speaking about it a little bit more logically. But it's going well. It's going all right. Just crack on, and I can't believe it's lasted this long. I started it when Ange first started, so the first 10 games, my channel was like now like every week I'm being negative. So yeah, it's not easy at all.
No, it's not. But keep up the good work, and I'm always saying, well, try and if I remember, I'm like, I'll get there in time and send in my thoughts. So thank you for always including me and being part of that. And if I'm honest with you, because this is the live podcast, people didn't know, you should know, but it is a live podcast, so I had the option when I first set it up of doing it live straight after the game was an option within an hour, but emotions run high. In my opinion, you're more sensible. You can analyze a lot better when you have 24 hours, 48 hours to reflect. That's myself included, everybody. If we'd done this just after full time, we'd all be emotional. We'd be really angry, for example, at Gabriel, but we calmed down a little bit. I believe that's when
you would need beeps then, Harry. I would have thought
you would need beeps, and I do not have the tools for the beeps yet. Let me just tell you that. So
if I was doing a watch on, you wouldn't hear anything I was saying.
Exactly that. Thank you so much, though, Alan and Simon. Thank you as always. Tell people where they can follow you on social media, but also Dudley Spurs as well. Don't forget to plug that.
Yeah, you can find me on X at Brummy Spurs. Regular on guest on podcasts. Any other podcasts, I'm more than happy to come on. I love talking about Spurs. I could talk about Spurs until I'm blue in the face. That's blue in the face, not red in the face. So and I'm event coordinator for Dudley Spurs. we're linked in with a Legends evening, which someone else is running near me for an evening with Pat Jennings, compared by Mickey Hazard. We sort of jumped in on that a little bit, not dealing with it directly, so I haven't got the contacts with them, but you know, we're selling tickets for that as well, so that should be a good evening at end of March. But yeah, come and follow me on X, and I'm more than happy to talk Spurs with you. And it's a pleasure to be on again with you and Chris, Harry, and nice to meet Alan as well for the first time. So thanks for having me on, Harry.
No worries. And just remind me, because Simon's mentioned it there, both on my YouTube channel and available on all podcast platforms. Go and type it. I've had last year, 2025, I had the privilege to interview both Steve Perryman firstly and then Mickey Hazard as well. And Mickey Hazard, it's really relevant. And that for me was amazing because we got to talk about his charity as well for the second half. It's about his career, and that would be funny away from football. That's really important. And I always use my platform to talk about some things away from football, and mine's learning disability. This is so important, that the work that Mickey Hazard does. And you'll see, follow him all over LinkedIn, all over social, sharing it. So to give that platform and to hear what he had to say was fantastic. And both really good guys, by the way. So yeah, big things planned for 2026 is all I will say. I will not be dropping names or anything, but do stay tuned. Thank you as always. And you know, if we're here, we want to always get up here. So thank you very much for everyone putting your trust in me as the Tottenham podcast. Always a podcast without an agenda, without toxicity, and without politics. Of course, sometimes not easy to do, but that's what we pride ourselves in, and a safe space as well. For anybody that wants to come in, everybody is welcome. I encourage you to come on. I encourage you to get involved. We want to hear from you. How do you feel right now as a Spurs fan, or whatever club you do support? And if you want to get in touch, want to get involved, drop me a follow at Harry Scarfe32 across social media, or drop me an email if you prefer, scarfharry323@gmail.com. But for now, thank you. Bit of a therapy session, but I think a very good episode and a massive come on, you Spurs. Come back next time.